3 years ago, my girlfriend left me for my older brother because he had money. He rejected her on the spot. Now I'm wealthier than both of them combined, and what happened at my engagement party still makes me smile. My girlfriend of 4 years told me she couldn't see a future with someone who lacked ambition, and confessed she'd been getting close to my older brother Ricardo because he knows how to make real money. I stepped aside without a fight. My brother called her out as a gold digger in front of her. 3 years later, I'm worth more than Ricardo ever was, engaged to someone who loved me when I had nothing, and my ex just showed up at our engagement party asking if we could talk privately. The look on her face when she saw my life now was absolutely priceless. Hey everyone, I need to get this off my chest because honestly, I still can't believe how everything played out. This whole situation feels like something out of a movie, but I promise you, every word of this is exactly how it happened. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and 3 years ago, my entire world got flipped upside down in the span of about 15 minutes. I was dating this woman named Vanessa for 4 years. We met in college, started dating in our senior year, and continued the relationship after graduation. Back then, I thought she was the one. I really did. Vanessa was always what you'd call image conscious. She cared a lot about appearances, where we ate, what car I drove, what watch I wore. At first, I thought it was just her being detail-oriented or having high standards, which I didn't mind because I wanted to provide a good life for us. I was working as a junior financial analyst at a mid-sized firm, making decent money but nothing extraordinary. About $52K a year, which was fine for someone starting out. I was learning the ropes, understanding markets, building connections. I knew it would take time to climb the ladder. Vanessa worked in marketing for a cosmetics company, making slightly less than me, around $48K. We split bills fairly, went on dates, did normal couple stuff. But over time, I started noticing these little comments. She'd see something expensive and say, "Must be nice to afford that without checking your bank account." Or when we'd visit my older brother Ricardo, she'd make remarks about his house, his car, his lifestyle. Ricardo was 35 at the time, working in commercial real estate, pulling in about $180K annually. He had the fancy downtown condo, the BMW, the designer suits. Classic successful older brother situation. I never felt competitive with Ricardo. We had a good relationship, talked regularly, hung out for holidays. He'd done well for himself, and I was proud of him. But Vanessa started bringing him up more and more. Ricardo mentioned he's investing in this new property development. Your brother has such good taste in restaurants. I wonder what it's like to not worry about money the way Ricardo doesn't. These comments became more frequent over the last year of our relationship. Then came the breaking point. It was a Saturday afternoon, and we were supposed to go apartment hunting. We'd been talking about moving in together officially, getting a bigger place than my studio or her tiny one-bedroom. I was actually excited about it, saw it as the next step toward marriage. I was even looking at rings online, nothing extravagant, but something meaningful. Vanessa came over that day looking nervous, which immediately put me on edge. She sat down on my couch and just started talking without any preamble. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about us and where we're going," she said. My stomach dropped because I knew that tone. "Nothing good ever follows that sentence," she continued. "I need to be honest with you about something. I don't think you have the kind of ambition I need in a partner. You're comfortable just being average, and I want more from life." I was confused. I asked her what she meant because I was working hard, learning, building my career foundation. She shook her head and said, "You've been at the same salary level for 3 years. You don't network enough. You don't push for promotions. You're just coasting." That hurt, but what came next absolutely destroyed me. She took a breath and said, "I've been spending time with Ricardo lately. He invited me to a few real estate events when you were busy with work. We've been talking, and I realize now what I actually need. He's driven, successful, knows how to make real money. He's going places." I just stared at her. My own girlfriend was telling me she'd been emotionally connecting with my brother behind my back. I asked her directly, "Are you saying you have feelings for Ricardo?" She didn't deny it. She just said, "I'm more attracted to the lifestyle he can provide. You're a good person, but I can't build the life I want on $52K a year. I need security, luxury, experiences." Ricardo understands that. The betrayal hit me in waves. Not just her leaving, but targeting my own brother. I felt numb. I asked her if Ricardo knew about her feelings, and she admitted she'd been testing the waters with him, dropping hints about being unhappy in our relationship, asking him for advice about dating someone with more ambition. She actually thought she was being clever about it. Here's the thing about me that maybe Vanessa never understood. I don't fight for people who don't want to be there. I don't beg. If someone tells me they're done, I believe them the first time. So I told her, if that's how you feel, then go. I'm not going to stand in your way or try to convince you I'm enough. You've made up your mind. She looked almost disappointed by my reaction, like she expected me to grovel or promise to change. Instead, I just asked her to leave. She gathered her stuff from my apartment, some clothes and toiletries she kept there, and left. The whole thing took maybe 20 minutes from start to finish. 4 years, gone in 20 minutes. I sat there for a while, just processing everything. Then I called Ricardo. I needed to know if he was aware of what Vanessa had been doing. He answered on the second ring, sounding cheerful, asking what was up. I told him, "Hey, I need to tell you something. Vanessa just broke up with me. She said she's more attracted to you and the lifestyle you have. She's been trying to get your attention at those events you invited her to." There was complete silence on the other end for about 10 seconds. Then Ricardo said, "She told you what?" I repeated it. He let out this long exhale and said, "That's what she's been doing." I thought she was just being friendly and networking. She kept asking me about investments, my income, whether I was seeing anyone. I figured she was curious for you, like maybe trying to learn stuff to help your career. I told him the whole conversation, everything Vanessa said. Ricardo got quiet again, then said, "Stay there, I'm coming over." He showed up 40 minutes later with beer and pizza, and we talked for hours. He was genuinely angry on my behalf. He told me he never encouraged Vanessa, never gave her any indication he was interested. He'd included her in those events because he thought it would be good networking for her marketing career, and because she was my girlfriend, practically family. Then Ricardo said something that became very important later. He said, "You need to know something about yourself that I don't think you realize. You're smarter with money than I am. You understand patterns and analysis in ways I never could. I make good money because I'm in a lucrative field and I'm good at schmoozing clients. But you have actual analytical talent. You just haven't found the right way to apply it yet." I appreciated him saying that, though at the moment I felt pretty worthless. The next day, Sunday, my phone started blowing up. Apparently, Vanessa had gone straight to Ricardo's place after leaving mine. She showed up at his condo unannounced, dressed up, with this whole speech prepared about how they'd connected on a deeper level, and she was finally free to explore what could be between them. Ricardo told me he didn't even let her inside. He said, "I'm going to tell you exactly what I told her at my doorstep. You're a gold digger, and it's pathetic. My brother is worth 10 of you, and you threw away someone genuine because you're obsessed with money you didn't earn. I would never date someone like you. You need to leave and never contact either of us again." Then he shut the door in her face. Vanessa texted me about an hour after that happened, a long message about how embarrassed she was and how Ricardo misunderstood her intentions. She claimed she still cared about me and maybe she'd made a mistake. I didn't respond. I blocked her number and all her social media. I was done. The next few months were rough, I'm not going to lie. I threw myself into work, but my heart wasn't in it anymore. I felt stuck in this entry-level analyst position, doing the same reporting and modeling work over and over. I started questioning whether Vanessa was right about my lack of ambition. Maybe I was too comfortable. Maybe I wasn't pushing myself hard enough. Around month 4 after the breakup, I was having lunch with Ricardo, and he brought up investing. He said, "You analyze financial data all day. Have you ever thought about trading for yourself? Using your own money to invest?" I told him I'd thought about it, but always felt like I didn't have enough capital to make it worthwhile. He laughed and said, "You don't need much to start. Open a trading account. Put in a few thousand. Practice with real money, not just theoretical models." That conversation changed everything. I opened a brokerage account and deposited $5,000, which was basically my entire savings at the time. I started small, buying stocks in companies I researched thoroughly. I spent my evenings reading annual reports, listening to earnings calls, studying market trends. I wasn't gambling or day trading based on hype. I was using actual analytical skills to find undervalued companies with strong fundamentals. My first big win came 6 months after I started. I'd invested in a mid-cap pharmaceutical company that was developing a new treatment protocol. The stock was trading at $12 per share when I bought 300 shares, costing me $3,600. 3 months later, they announced breakthrough trial results, and the stock jumped to $34 per share. I sold everything and made $6,600 in profit. That one trade more than doubled my initial investment. I was hooked, but in a disciplined way. I developed rules for myself: never invest more than I could afford to lose, always diversify, always have an exit strategy, never let emotions drive decisions. I rolled my profits into new investments. Some won, some lost, but overall, I was beating the market by significant margins. Meanwhile, my day job continued. I was still making the same salary, still in the same position. But I didn't care anymore because my investment portfolio was growing steadily. By the end of year 1, I'd turned that initial $5,000 into $28,000. By the end of year 2, I was at $95,000. I was reading everything I could about value investing, growth investing, option strategies, sector rotation. I became obsessed with understanding market psychology. Around the 18-month mark after the breakup, I met someone new. Her name was Natalie. We met at a coffee shop near my office. I was there reading the Wall Street Journal before work, and she was sketching in a notebook at the next table. Her pencil rolled off her table and I caught it before it hit the ground. We started talking, found out she was a graphic designer working freelance from home, and we just clicked. Natalie was different from Vanessa in every way. She dressed casually, drove a 10-year-old Honda, lived in a modest apartment. She decorated herself with thrifted furniture and her own artwork. When we started dating, I was honest about my financial situation. I told her I made a modest salary but had been doing well with personal investments. She literally said, "I don't care how much money you have. I care that you're interesting to talk to and you make me laugh." We took things slow. Coffee dates, walks in the park, cooking dinner at home instead of expensive restaurants. She had no idea how much my portfolio had grown because I didn't bring it up. Money just wasn't a focus of our relationship. We talked about art, current events, books, travel dreams, family stories. She met Ricardo about 4 months into our relationship, and they got along great. She told me afterward, "Your brother's nice, but you're definitely the more interesting one." By month 7 of dating Natalie, I knew she was the one I wanted to marry. Not because of anything dramatic, but because everything felt easy and right with her. She supported my work, encouraged my investment hobby without being greedy about it, and never once asked me to spend money on her. For her birthday, I wanted to get her something nice, maybe a piece of jewelry. She asked me to donate to an animal shelter instead because she'd rather help rescue dogs than have more stuff. Around this same time, my investments hit a major milestone. I'd been heavily researching the tech sector and artificial intelligence companies. I found 3 smaller companies with solid IP portfolios and reasonable valuations. I invested $80,000 spread across all 3, which was most of my portfolio at that point. It was a calculated risk, but I believed in the long-term growth potential. 6 months later, all 3 companies got acquired by major tech giants. My positions increased in value by 340%, 280%, and 410% respectively. When the dust settled, my portfolio was worth just over $1.3 million. I was 28 years old with over $1 million in liquid assets, and I still worked my same analyst job making $52K a year. Nobody at work knew. Nobody in my life knew except Ricardo, and only because he asked me directly one day how my investing was going. When I told Ricardo the number, he just started laughing. Not mocking laughter, but genuine amazed laughter. He said, "You realize you're now worth about 7 times my net worth, right? My condo, my car, my retirement accounts, all of it combined is maybe $180,000 in actual wealth. You have $1.3 million liquid. You absolute madman." I asked him not to tell anyone yet because I was still processing it myself. I had a decision to make about my career. I could quit my job and trade full-time, or I could continue working and treating investing as a side activity. I decided to keep working for stability and health insurance, but I did start negotiating harder for promotions and raises. Suddenly, I had the confidence to walk away if they said no, which ironically made them more willing to say yes. I got bumped to senior analyst with a salary of $74,000. Natalie and I had been dating for about 7 months when I decided I wanted to propose. Not because of societal pressure or timeline expectations, but because I genuinely wanted to spend my life with this person. She made everything better and never once made me feel like I needed to prove my worth through money or status. I planned to propose at a nice restaurant, nothing too elaborate, just intimate and meaningful. But first, I needed to talk to Natalie about my financial situation. I didn't want to start a marriage with this massive secret. So one evening at her apartment, I sat her down and said, "I need to tell you something about my finances before we take any next steps." She looked worried, probably thinking I was in debt or something. I explained the whole story, how I'd started investing 3 years ago, how successful it had been, the current value of my portfolio. I pulled up my brokerage account on my phone and showed her the balance. She just stared at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. "You have over $1 million, she said slowly. I confirmed yes. She asked, "And you've been taking me to casual restaurants and movie nights this whole time?" I told her, "I wanted you to know me before you knew about the money. I needed to be sure you loved me for who I am, not what I have." She started crying, which scared me for a second, but she said, "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me. You tested whether I was genuine." I proposed 3 days later at the restaurant as planned. Nothing flashy, just me, her, and a ring I'd carefully selected. She said yes immediately. We decided on a 9-month engagement to plan a small wedding, just close family and friends. We sent out save the dates about a month after getting engaged. The engagement party was scheduled for a Saturday evening at a nice event space that Natalie had found. We'd invited about 40 people, mostly friends and some family. Ricardo was there obviously, acting as my best man. Natalie's parents, her sister, my parents, some college friends, some of her designer colleagues, some of my coworkers. It was supposed to be a simple, happy celebration. The party had been going for about an hour when I noticed a commotion near the entrance. I looked over and froze. Vanessa was there, talking to one of my cousins who apparently didn't know our history and thought she was an invited guest. She was dressed up, hair done professionally, makeup perfect. She looked exactly like she did 3 years ago, maybe a bit more polished. Ricardo noticed her at the same time I did. He walked over immediately and asked her what she was doing there. I couldn't hear the conversation from where I stood, but I could see her gesturing animatedly. Natalie noticed my attention shift and asked what was wrong. I told her, "My ex-girlfriend just showed up uninvited." Natalie's expression changed instantly. She said, "The one who left you for money and tried to date your brother?" I'd told her the whole story months ago. I nodded. Natalie straightened her shoulders and said, "Let's go handle this together." We walked over to where Ricardo was still blocking Vanessa from entering further into the party. When Vanessa saw me approaching with Natalie, her face went through several expressions. Surprise, forced smile, something that looked like regret. She said my name, trying to sound casual. "Hey, I heard through mutual friends you were having an engagement party. I wanted to congratulate you in person." I didn't buy it for a second. I asked her, "How did you even know where this was?" She admitted she'd called my office pretending to be planning a surprise for me and got the venue information from my assistant. That was creepy and manipulative, which honestly tracked with what I knew about her now. Natalie stepped forward and introduced herself. "I'm Natalie, the fiancée. You must be Vanessa." There was no warmth in her voice, just polite acknowledgement. Vanessa looked Natalie up and down, clearly taking in her simple dress and minimal jewelry. You could see her calculating, trying to figure out what I saw in someone who didn't scream wealth. Vanessa turned back to me and said, "I was actually hoping we could talk privately for a few minutes. There are things I never got to say properly." I told her no, there was nothing to discuss. Whatever she had to say, she could say it right here in front of my fiancé and brother. She looked uncomfortable but pushed forward anyway. "I made a mistake 3 years ago. I was immature and focused on the wrong things. I've grown a lot since then. I've done therapy, worked on myself. When I heard you were getting married, I realized I never gave us a proper chance. I ran away instead of supporting you." It was such a transparent speech, and I could tell she'd rehearsed it. Before I could respond, Natalie laughed. Not a mean laugh, but genuine amusement. She said, "Let me guess, you also recently found out he's wealthy now?" Vanessa's face went red. Natalie continued, "Because 3 years ago you didn't think he had ambition. But now suddenly you've grown and want another chance. Interesting timing." Vanessa tried to deny it, but her face told the truth. She stammered about how she'd been following my career and heard I was doing well. Natalie just shook her head and turned to me. "This is your call, babe, but I think we should get back to our actual guests." I agreed. I looked at Vanessa and said, "I appreciate you coming here to clear your conscience or whatever this is. But I need you to understand something. When you left me 3 years ago, you did me the biggest favor of my life. You showed me exactly who you were, and I believed you. I moved on. I built a life. I found someone who loved me when I had nothing special to offer except myself." Vanessa's eyes were getting watery. She tried one more time. "You're really happy," I told her, "happier than I ever was with you. And that's not about money. That's about being with someone genuine." Ricardo, who had been quiet, finally spoke up. "Vanessa, you need to leave. You weren't invited. You're making everyone uncomfortable. You had your chance to be part of this family, and you chose to humiliate yourself instead. Don't make it worse." She looked around at the three of us, realized she wasn't getting anywhere, and finally nodded. "I hope you'll be happy," she said quietly, then turned and left. We watched her walk out of the venue, and I felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no regret. Just indifference. Natalie squeezed my hand and said, "Well, that was dramatic." I laughed and agreed. We went back to the party, and I didn't think about Vanessa again that night. Ricardo made a toast later, telling everyone how proud he was of me and how Natalie was the perfect match. Natalie's father made a speech about trusting your instincts about people. My mom cried happy tears. The rest of the party was perfect. We danced, ate good food, celebrated with people who genuinely cared about us. At one point, Natalie pulled me aside and said, "Thank you for being honest with me about your ex showing up. I know you could have handled that alone, but I appreciate you letting me be there with you." I told her the truth. "You're my partner now. We handle things together." She kissed me and we went back to dancing. The whole Vanessa situation felt like a weird footnote to an otherwise amazing evening. After the party, Ricardo, Natalie, and I went to a late-night diner, still in our party clothes, and rehashed everything. Ricardo said, "The look on her face when Natalie called her out was incredible. She didn't expect your fiancé to have a spine." Natalie laughed and said, "I grew up with 3 brothers. I know how to handle my ground." We talked about how bizarre it was that Vanessa thought showing up would accomplish anything. Ricardo theorized she probably heard about my investment success through mutual acquaintances and thought she could get back in. I realized I didn't care about her motivations anymore. She was truly irrelevant to my life now. Natalie asked if I ever wondered what would have happened if Vanessa hadn't left. I told her honestly, I would have been miserable. I would have married someone who valued me for all the wrong reasons. Her leaving was the wake-up call I needed to figure out who I actually was and what I wanted. The next few weeks passed normally. Natalie and I continued wedding planning. I continued working and investing, though at this point I was much more conservative with my approach. My portfolio was at $1.4 million, and I wasn't trying to chase massive gains anymore. Steady growth and preservation mattered more now. I did make one significant decision. I started a small investment fund for friends and family who wanted help growing their money but didn't have the time or knowledge to do it themselves. Ricardo was my first client, investing $50,000 of his savings. Natalie's father invested $30,000. A few friends from college invested smaller amounts. I charged no fees, just wanted to help people I cared about build wealth. About 2 months after the engagement party, I ran into one of Vanessa's friends at a grocery store. She recognized me and came over to apologize for Vanessa's behavior at the party. She said, "Vanessa's been having a really hard time. She's still single, struggling at work, living with roommates. When she found out about your success and engagement, she kind of spiraled." I appreciated the context but told her I didn't wish Vanessa any ill will. I hoped she found happiness eventually, just not with me. The friend nodded and said, "You're a lot more mature about this than most people would be." I didn't feel mature, I just felt done with that chapter. Natalie and I got married 9 months after our engagement, exactly as planned. Small ceremony, close friends and family, a lot of laughter and happy tears. Ricardo stood up as my best man and gave a speech about how proud he was to see me build a life on my own terms. Natalie's vows made me cry. She talked about how I taught her that real love wasn't about what someone could provide materially, but about who they were when no one was watching. Our honeymoon was 2 weeks in Japan, somewhere Natalie had always wanted to visit. We ate incredible food, visited temples, stayed in traditional ryokans, and didn't think about work or money or anything stressful. It was perfect. When we got back, real life resumed. I was now 29, married to an incredible woman, financially secure, and genuinely happy with my career. I'd been promoted again at work to lead analyst with a salary of $95,000, which was nice but honestly felt like play money compared to my investment portfolio. I continued managing the small fund for family and friends, and everyone was seeing steady returns. Natalie started her own design business, working with small businesses to create branding packages. She was talented and her client list grew quickly. We bought a house together in a nice neighborhood, nothing flashy but spacious and comfortable. We adopted a dog from a shelter, a goofy golden retriever mix that Natalie named Mango. Life felt stable and good. I still kept in touch with Ricardo regularly. He'd started dating someone seriously, a lawyer named Eleanor who was smart and funny and perfect for him. Our families got together often for dinners and holidays. I never heard from Vanessa again after the engagement party. According to social media, which I occasionally checked out of curiosity, she was still working in marketing, still posting about her life, but there was a performative quality to it all. Lots of posts about self-love and personal growth and finding yourself. I wished her well from a distance and moved on completely. Looking back now, almost 3 years after Natalie and I got married, I can honestly say Vanessa leaving was the best thing that could have happened to me. Not because it made me wealthy. The money is nice but not what matters. It was the best thing because it forced me to figure out who I was without external validation. I learned I was capable of more than I gave myself credit for. I learned to trust my analytical instincts. I learned what genuine partnership looked like through Natalie. I learned that my worth wasn't tied to my job title or salary. I learned that the right person will love you for you, not for what you can provide. Ricardo told me once, during one of our late-night conversations, Vanessa thought she was trading up when she tried to pursue me. But really, she was downgrading from someone with actual potential to someone who'd already peaked. I laughed and told him he hadn't peaked, but I understood his point. The whole experience taught me about patience too. In our 20s, there's so much pressure to have everything figured out immediately. Career, relationship, finances, life path. But real success, the kind that matters, takes time to build. You have to be willing to put in work when no one's watching, to invest in yourself and your growth, to make smart decisions consistently over time. My advice to anyone reading this, especially if you're going through a breakup or feeling like you're not where you're supposed to be in life, trust the process. Work on yourself. Develop your skills. Be authentic about who you are. The right people will show up at the right time. The wrong people leaving creates space for the right people to enter. 3 years ago, I was a guy making $52K getting dumped for not being ambitious enough. Today, I'm a guy who built wealth through disciplined investing, married to someone who loves me genuinely, with a career I'm proud of and relationships that matter. The transformation didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't always easy, but it happened because I refused to let someone else's assessment of my worth define me. Vanessa showed up at my engagement party thinking she could reclaim something she'd thrown away. But the truth is, there was nothing to reclaim. The person she dated doesn't exist anymore. I grew into someone completely different, someone she wouldn't recognize. And that version of me belongs with Natalie, someone who saw value in me before the money, before the success, before any of the external markers of achievement. Sometimes the universe removes people from your life not as punishment, but as protection. Vanessa was removed from my life to make room for Natalie. My mediocre career phase was preparation for understanding how to build real wealth. Every rejection, every setback, every moment of doubt served a purpose. I'm sharing this story not to brag, but to encourage anyone who feels stuck or undervalued right now. Your current situation isn't your final destination. Keep developing yourself. Keep making smart choices. Keep being authentic. The right life will build itself around you, piece by piece, decision by decision. And if someone from your past shows up trying to re-enter your life after seeing your success, remember why they left in the first place. Remember who stayed. Remember who loved you at your lowest. Those are the people who deserve to celebrate your highest. Thanks for reading this long story. It felt good to write it all out and reflect on how far I've come. If you've experienced something similar, drop a comment. I'd love to hear how you handled it and where you are now.